A warm welcome to the Talking Cure podcast. I'm a counseling psychologist in private practice. And as we wrap up the Mental Health Month, we are very excited today to have on the podcast Metropolitan Lesotho, represented by the CEO, Mamello Phomane. Welcome, Mamello. It's lovely to have you. So, Mamello, I'm sure people would like to know who Mamello is and who Metropolitan Lesotho is also.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to the Talking Cure. So, Mamello ke ngwanana wa bothabothe magagweng ha lekula. Ke mokwena ke lonkopane ke motho wa bodijo bo moselane ke motho wa sedimontho tha bodijo hlabana dithothela jwale ke tsamaya le matebela andimthim golobongane gazele ka hadebe izulu yazibangela ke maboka mbunzi emnyama ozejamiza kajamela. Mamello is a healer, she's a leader, she's a spiritual life coach. She's a mother, and she's a whole lot of wonderful things that she lives her life by. Yeah. So that's me.
I just couldn't wait to start. As you were introducing yourself.
Yeah.
Because as a Mosotho, I always say,
yeah.
So it's so beautiful just to introduce yourself as a Mosotho and everything in many roles and the caps that we wear, especially as a woman.
Yeah. So. Who I am grounds me. Yeah. It provides me with a sense of security. So I don't ever leave myself behind. Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah, so I work for a beautiful company called Metropolitan Lesotho that I'm sure everybody knows. We are the dominant life insurer in the company. We do individual life insurance. We do insurance, employee benefits for corporates, for big corporates, small corporates, medium corporates. We give employee benefits to those corporates. We also do, part of the employee benefits include medical aid. And we launched an asset management company last year, and we're about to launch something as well, soon in the next few, watch the space. In the next few weeks, in regard to the asset management company. So we've been around in Lesotho for, more than 56 years.
Wow.
So we are quite the mainstay of, of the financial services sector in Lesotho. Yeah.
That's really lovely. I didn't realize you've been in Lesotho for such a long time.
A very long time.
Yeah. Way older than me.
Yeah, absolutely. Even older than me. And I've been working for Metropolitan Lesotho for 20 years. Tomorrow, actually, the 1st of November, it'll be exactly 20 years.
Congratulations.
Since I've been working there.
Yeah. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
And it's really wonderful. For me to have seen, I think even when you stepped into the role of CEO, to see a black woman stepping into that role, because traditionally in the world of work, how historically things have been.
Yeah.
So it has really been encouraging, and congratulations with the work that you do with Metropolitan Lesotho.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, Mamello, here at the Talking Cure podcast, we always just start by checking in. Of course, this is an opportunity for us to come in a safe space where we talk about all things mental health.
Yeah.
So always like just to check in as part of our tradition, just to say, how are you arriving?
How am I arriving? I'm actually not okay, but I still wake up and put one foot in front of the other. In fact, I actually have my therapy session this afternoon. I found a therapist who is a psychologist but also a traditional healer. As you can imagine, the issues that pertain to me, that are unique to me, are extremely unique. And I was at pains to try and find a therapist that would be able to fully understand me, understand my unique needs and, the problems that I encounter in my personal workspace, in every space. So I actually have my therapy session this afternoon, but we still put one foot in front of the other. because we are a work in progress.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing so vulnerably. I think sometimes we take it for granted, and we look at people and we think, oh no, therapy, they have it all together.
Yeah, no.
So even just for sharing that, I think it's so empowering, because people can realize how therapy is important and how it's important for us to take care of ourselves.
Absolutely.
So it's very important.
Yeah.
Even to find a therapist that really, we always say it's like, it is a relationship.
It's a relationship, yeah.
You can't be in a relationship with someone that you don't click with,
Yeah.
that you don't flow with.
Yeah.
So to find somebody that really you flow with, and spirituality is right at the core of the work that we do,
Yeah.
you know, in therapy, regardless of, we may have different backgrounds and different beliefs, but it's very important. It's right at the core of
It's
our
right
healing
at the
process.
core.
So
Yeah.
that's very important.
Yeah, and I didn't really want to have to explain myself. I mean, the critical thing about that for me, for therapy, was that it needed to be a space that was accepting of all of me, in all of my faces and my colors. And so I didn't want to get into a therapy session and have to overly explain myself, and you know, so my first session was just easy. And oh my God, the relief.
Lovely to hear that. Lovely to hear that. And when you say you are not okay, you know, October, around this time, everyone is feeling the end of year fatigue. So I know I'm feeling it. And 2024 has been declared as the year of fatigue. From January, other people have already been feeling like already so heavy. So you can imagine, I know we're just looking forward to December, getting to the end of the year, finding ways to rejuvenate, even though it's very important to find small ways, what I call the little pockets of joy, of rejuvenating and refilling as we go along, instead of waiting for big chunks at the end of the year. So that's very important. But I think awareness and to acknowledge it, it's very important. Especially being in this month, we know that even as we wrap up October, October is Mental Health Awareness Month. 10th of October is Mental Health Day. And this year in particular, the Federation for Mental Health has themed this year as it is time to prioritize mental health
in the workplace.
With the end year fatigue and everything that is happening, I wonder what this theme has meant to you, probably as an individual or as Metropolitan Lesotho. How has it impacted you, and what does it mean to you?
It means a lot. I think it's for Metropolitan Lesotho, it's been a wake-up call. For us, we had 2 self-harm incidents this year. It rocked the business, it rocked our clients, our stakeholders, you know, across the board. And so that's when I started immersing myself and researching, you know, and came across all these harrowing statistics, you know, for our country, you know, the suicide rates, the unhappiness index or the happiness index, the murder rates, you know, all of that. And so it really has been fortuitous that we were able to, you know, launch our campaign in October during Mental Health Awareness Month. And then, you know, the theme was, you know, aptly for the day, prioritizing mental health in the workplace. So it means everything, because I think there is a tendency to be very narrow-minded when it comes to our health. As a spiritual life coach, you know, when I talk to my clients, it's health on 4 levels. It's mental health, it's emotional health, it's spiritual health, and then it's physical health. And that at any one point in time, you don't necessarily do the one, because you know, these 4 levels impact on each other. And I think in the workplace, we tend to ignore, in a large part, a number of those areas: emotional health, mental health, and spiritual health. Maybe, you know, mental health, to a certain extent, because we're so focused on performance, we're so focused on results, we're so focused on standardization, we're so focused on policies and, regulations and, putting everybody in a nice box. And we tend to forget. And I think this is why I think it's critical that we have conversations around mental health in the workplace. Also, people are not one-dimensional. I might have issues at home. There is no way they're not going to seep into the workspace. I might have issues at work. There's no way they're not going to seep into the home space. I might have issues at church or in my spiritual space. They're going to seep into all the different areas of ourselves. And I think it's time in the workplace we recognize that we are full human beings with integrated health wellness needs.
That is very important. And as you say that, Mem, I mean, putting structures in place, having policies, all of that is important for the running of the business, right? Because we want to be able to meet the mandates and meet the targets. However, I think the point that you're bringing up is very critical. As human beings, we bring ourselves in everything that we do. I always make an example, even us as therapists, as a healer, we don't have, there may be tools here and there that we use, but you'll find in an emotional space, we bring who you are. So it's very important to make sure that we take that into consideration. And I guess to employers, we are saying it's important to take care of employees. It's important to recognize our emotions, our mental health in totality, because if we just focus on productivity, we won't be able to get the results that we want. We
won't be able to get sustainable results because we'll get productivity today, but we may not get productivity and results tomorrow. Because, as much as human beings are resilient, they need the upliftment and they need to know that they're in a safe space. So you find that organizations tend to say, no, we have a policy on mental health, or we have a policy on wellness, and we have an employee assistance program, and then that's it. But they cannot exist within a vacuum. And so I think what has been critical for us at Metropolitan has been beginning to actually intentionally say we are putting together a mental health campaign. We want to have conversations that work in tandem with the policy, that work in tandem with the employee assistance program, because the employee assistance program, the context of it is the workplace. So you can't put things in boxes. So the conversation, I find the conversations are critical. Having the conversations, the talking cure, so aptly named. I mean, you need to talk about these things, and you need to feel safe to talk about them.
No, definitely, it has to be woven throughout. Going back, I think you talked about the experiences that you had at work. I think it's very important. I'm aware when you talk about self-harm that you have had 2 losses due to suicide in the organization. That must have been very hard. For you guys as individuals, for you as an entity. I can't even begin to imagine what Metropolitan Lesotho has been going through. And my sincere condolences to all of you.
Thank you.
I'm wondering how you have been able to cope. And I believe you're still walking that journey. And also, I don't want to take it for granted that sometimes there's the good. It may not seem that way when you're going through stuff, but there's always the good that may come out of a situation, even the most traumatic, the most critical, the most saddest crisis that one may go through. Mosotho says, meaning, like I've just said, there's always the good that may come out of that situation, even though it's not a good situation. How have you guys been coping, and what have been the lessons that have come out of the experience?
You know, when things like that happen, there's no script. There's no script because context always matters. Context always matters, and you can't script it. And so everything that we did and had to do was really about the heart. And a lot of in that, you know, the incidents had me, you know, researching now. And this is when I came, you know, across the harrowing statistics. And I deeply knew and believed that, you know, we needed to do something. And so, you know, it has birthed this mental health campaign that we have launched this year as Metropolitan Lesotho, that, you know, is fourfold really. It's about, you know, enabling and having a safe space for conversations through the webinars. I don't know if you saw our webinar last week that we had, and, you know, having various different partners that we're partnering with. And really there's about awareness, it's about education, it's about, you know, conversations. It has birthed what we call Metropolitan Khotla, that is specifically targeted at, you know, creating a safe space for Bontate, where Bontate can have conversations amongst themselves about issues that pertain to Bontate, uniquely to Bontate. It has birthed a partnership with Maluti Rotary Club, where we want to go to high schools and, you know, infuse mental health awareness, campaign talks, everything with, you know, high school going, you know, kids. And it, you know, it has also, you know, birthed the other one. What's the other one that we want to do? It's one that we've already been doing, but we're just shifting the focus a lot more to mental health. We already have this wellness vehicle that we call Empower. So our clients that are our employee benefits clients, our corporates, you know, we have this wellness vehicle that, you know, we do wellness days for them, where, you know, in that wellness day we'll do financial wellness talks, we'll do physical aerobics, and, you know, so we're now bringing a lens of mental health to Empower, where we go to, you know, all of our clients, and you know, they call us and we do a wellness day, and you know, for that day it's all wellness conversations. So it birthed this campaign because we realized, Tore, what happened at Metropolitan Lesotho was not unique to Metropolitan Lesotho. It's a national crisis. It's actually a national crisis. The fact that, you know, we're in the top 5 with the highest suicide rates. We're at the bottom of the happiness index. We have the highest murder rates, one of the highest murder rates in the world. It talks to an unhappy nation. And so it was clear that this was not something that was unique to Metropolitan. You know, after those 2 incidents, we had a lot of group counseling. We had a lot of conversations. And as the conversations were happening, they birthed the campaign. Because then we realized that, you know, there is a lot of underlying unhappiness. There's a lot of underlying issues that, you know, are, again, not unique to Metropolitan, but us as Basotho, as people, we have a lot of issues, but we have not normalized having conversations. So really what we're trying to do is to normalize having the conversations, is to normalize, is for people to see that this is not unique to one person or to 2 people. It's unique to all of us. You know, even if you're not having problems, therapies should be normal. I mean, I don't know if people are not having therapy and they think it's okay, it's not okay. Everybody needs therapy. Even us as healers, we actually have to go to you have to go to a therapist who works with therapists, right? I've gone to a therapist who's a traditional healer. So, you know, everybody needs therapy, whether you're well, whether you are not well, regardless. Therapy should be normal.
Even just for personal and professional development.
Amen. Yeah, that's it. So we should normalize therapy. It shouldn't be hush behind the scenes, under the covers, like, oh, she's going to therapy. You know,
That's why I was so excited initially when you said even this afternoon you have your own therapy.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you mentioned it.
Yeah.
Because once we normalize things and we start talking, we give other people permission to also be okay and be vulnerable and break the silence and start talking about these things.
Yeah, because I think it looks like it looks like we have it all together.
Yeah.
No, that's not what it's about. Yeah. No, we slap on the makeup and
We didn't wake up like this.
We didn't wake up like this, we took effort. Like, this is why I'm saying I'm still putting one foot in front of the other.
That is true.
But we are full human beings and we don't have it all together, although and I think that's part of their problem. I think the society that we live in with social media, with competitiveness and with peer pressure and with all of that, it puts forth a very false world, a very false sense of having together, and I think it is why the suicide rates are so high, the happiness, because it seems we are forced into this role of looking perfect all the time, of appearing to have it together all the time. I think social media has perpetuated an already very difficult situation and it has blown it apart. So I think now more than ever, showing up authentically, showing up with vulnerability. There's this TED talk, I don't know, you probably know it, Brené Brown, The Vulnerability. She's amazing. Yes. She's one of my favorites to read. And I love her work because, she says that vulnerability is a place, where joy comes from, where creativity comes from, where wonderful things happen when we are vulnerable. Imagine the energy that it takes to be pretentious.
You can say that again.
Imagine that. To feel like you have it all together, how much energy that takes.
Exactly.
And work it takes. And then you get home and then
exactly. Because it's so heavy to have to
carry the perfection and the So I think we owe it to ourselves to have these conversations.
And I'm so glad that we are having this conversation. I'm so glad that you, at the core, you said it's about normalizing. Because, and even having the talking cure, for us, the purpose, and with the webinars and the campaigns that you're doing, the whole plan is to be able to go out there to the people and say, it's okay to not be okay. Let's normalize, let's talk about these things. Let's deal with them. Because once we start talking about them, there's no one size fits all solutions. However, there's one thing that worked for me that I can be able to sift through and take some of the things and then apply them in my own life. Because if we went through that and I'm going through it, how did, people that probably in the future, we hope not, but we know life keeps lifing, that may go through any form of loss, for example, they may be able to, as an organization, for example, take away from Metropolitan and say, what can we learn that as they went through the difficult journey that they did and developed that we can be able to copy. So it's very important to bring to the surface these conversations and be able to discuss everything and normalize and say it's okay without minimizing, of course. We know it's very difficult and we don't take it for granted what people go through. But at the same time, once we bring it to the surface, it helps to lessen the burden because it says, I'm not the only one in this corner. Somebody else is going through it. We can be able to hold our hands and be able to walk together as we go through this.
The relief, I think, of knowing that you're not the only one. Because, you see, the thing I think about mental health is inherently it feels like you're alone. I think inherently, why it is so difficult.
And hence the isolation also.
Exactly. It feels, and so I think normalizing, as you say, a big part is to say you're not alone. You're not alone and it is okay.
I must say it's so good just to hear with the different pillars that you have of the campaign. One other thing that caught my attention was you going to the schools. We need to catch them
High
young.
schools, yes,
Exactly.
yeah.
We never had the opportunity back in our days when growing up, even
Yeah.
just for career guidance,
Yeah.
let alone the difficult. We didn't grow up in the social media
Yeah.
era.
Yeah.
The young people in this day and age, the pressure,
Yeah.
the bullying
Yeah.
on social media,
Yeah.
people saying things that they wouldn't say to your face.
Face to face, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So they're growing up in a very difficult, world. And I think we tend to forget them. We forget that kids are people. They just happen to be young people.
Young people.
They go through the same emotions, the same fears, the same things that we go through as adults. It's even better for us because we have the language to be able to express ourselves, probably the psychological tools that we can use that they do not have. So to create that platform for them is just so amazing. To have men, and I love the name Khotla,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
as Basotho men,
Yeah.
they go into their own corner, in their own privacy,
Yeah.
be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I know in our culture sometimes it's not very easy for
Monna
men
ke
to
nkuhale. Yeah.
And we understand, we don't want to take away their masculinity, but at the same time, emotions don't just vanish just because monna ke nkuhale. It doesn't mean they don't go through the difficult emotions.
Yeah.
So that's very important. June is men's mental health month. So immediately when you talk about men and khotla and opening it up even to the general public, I saw the video that Metropolitan Lesotho made. I saw the newspaper articles that, there's a lot that you have been doing, and it's really encouraging. And I think there's so much that we can take away from that as individuals, as organizations, that we can be able, to walk away with. And I was wondering if there's anything that you would say to organizations, especially as we talk about the fact that the theme for this year, that it is time to prioritize mental health in the workplace. What would be your message specifically to organizations looking at this year's theme as we wrap up mental health? What would you say to other organizations?
Yeah. I mean, I will always say context. Context always matters.
Yeah.
And each organization has its own context. It has its own mandate. It has its own culture, because culture is, is the context within which all of these things happen.
Yeah.
I think what is critical is, constantly being in review of how culture is serving the organization in pursuit of its mandate, and how it is also supporting its employees, but importantly that it is never going to be possible to solve all the problems, but one can start. And I think a lot of organizations have an employee assistance program, and they have wellness days, but I worry about the in-between. I think what I worry most is, what about the in-between? To what extent do we utilize the statistics that comes from the, your employee assistance program and actually discuss it? To what extent are policies not just sitting somewhere and gathering dust, and they are alive? So just, a number of questions in terms of the in-between, the spaces, because I think those are the most dangerous spaces. To what extent, do people know where to go, who to go to when they're in a crisis? To what extent does the organization have, some sort of, a plan of what happens in a crisis? I mean, earlier I said that there's no script for a crisis when it does happen, but actually having the conversation to say, what would we do hypothetically if an X situation happens? What are we going to do?
Like a fire drill,
like we would with a fire drill, or like we would with any other crisis. Let's have the conversations around what kind of support structures do we have in place, but on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. What are the conversations that are happening? How do we make mental health, emotional health part of a performance discussion? So that would be critical. In the same breath, I also want to say that we know that people can also take advantage, because just because we're having focus on mental health, there are employees that can take advantage of a situation such as this. And you get zero productivity out of them because now it's a mental health issue, it's an emotional issue, etc., etc. So organizations have the challenge of finding balance, of supporting individuals, of supporting employees, finding a way to ensure that the in-between spaces, conversations are happening, while at the same time they need to balance the mandate of productivity, of achieving goals, of achieving results, and of not having employees take advantage of situations such as this. So it's the lines can get blurry sometimes, but but the important thing is to actually be talking about it, is making plans around it, consulting with employees and creating safe spaces, and also leadership. I think that there is a specific conversation to be had about the kind of pressure that leaders and people in management go through. When they say it's lonely at the top, this is one of the things that we talk about, that the mental health pressures, the emotional pressures, of being in a position of leadership where you are expected to always have all the answers, to always have it together, to always be perfect at all times, and to always produce regardless. That's another conversation that also has to happen as well. So there's quite a number of areas that I think it's a journey that organizations can walk the journey and say, we're going to start here. Ultimately, we want to get there, but let's start something. Let's try to have an integrated wellness agenda, and that integrated wellness agenda must be a regular agenda. Just like in your meetings, you have an agenda. I have this thing with my team where whenever we start a meeting, we check in, and it's check just like you checked in with me on how that sometimes somebody is not okay that day. And really, it's not that I can do anything about it, but it's that you're able to express that I'm struggling today, and
being there
and being
a listening ear. Sometimes that's good enough.
Sometimes that's all somebody needs. That
True.
I know X person is struggling today, and just as I'm vulnerable, I'm also vulnerable with them as well, to say no, today I'm not in a good space. But let's keep going nonetheless. So I think for me that's we need to start. We need to have the conversations. We need to create the structures, and we need to balance all the different moving parts.
I like it when you say integrating, because for me it's right at the core. Integrating mental health throughout everything. Because life happens every day. We go through challenges, from time to time. So that's very important. And what would your parting words be, maybe to general Lesotho community, to anyone in relation to just mental health in general? As you were talking, even just talking about leadership and how challenging it can be, because as leaders, people are expected to carry the whole load, and we forget that they also have their own issues. They may be the shoulders that others cry onto, but now, who do they cry to? Who do they cry to? And I was also thinking it's very important also when we talk about mental health and integrating everything, that the leadership and the management has a buy-in. So for me to have the whole CEO of Metropolitan Lesotho here talk about mental health, see the videos, see the articles, see you in the forefront. It's huge, because I think it's one thing to offer it to our employees and look the other way. Because as we do, it says to them, oh, this is not important.
Yeah.
You can, just like with kids, if I have a toy, I always make that example, a toy phone here and I have my own real phone here.
Yeah.
They never want to play with the toy
They
phone.
want yours.
They want yours because they realize
that's the real Makoya.
Exactly. So when the leadership is in the forefront, whether it's any form of wellness or anything for that matter, it says to everybody else, this must be important.
Matters.
And as a psychologist sitting here, for me it's so encouraging, because we work with a lot of organizations and sometimes, and I know self-compassion is important, it takes time for some people to come to the table and fully understand the importance even just of mental health. So looking at you, the work that you're doing, the challenges that you've gone through, what would be your parting words to Lesotho, to Metropolitan employees, to clients, to everyone basically, in relation to mental health as we close off this month?
Yeah. I guess my parting shots, the thing that was harrowing to me was, we are a nation of peace, and we are such a our culture is such an enabling culture of peace and of togetherness.
Yeah.
I mean, and I really think that for such a small nation, we cannot be at the bottom of the happiness index. Yeah. We cannot have one of the highest murder rates in the world. Yeah. We cannot have one of the highest suicide rates in the world for 2.3 million, 2.2 million people. I think that because we're such a small nation, I think together we can really tackle this issue. Yeah. But it can only happen together. I don't think that it is one person's, I don't think it's the Ministry of Health's job, or it is, you as a psychologist, job to, I think there's the only way, and this is why, our motto as a business is together we can. The only way is to tackle this together, and to be so pedantic about insisting on the conversations. And there's no right or wrong way of doing this, right? There's no right or wrong way. Yeah, so let's do it. Let's just tackle it together. Let's have the conversations.
You've had it, Musutwa Haiso, and everyone, that we can do this and tackle it together. We're always better together. As we wrap up this Mental Health Month, find ways to check in, find ways to take care of others, find ways to be self-compassionate, find ways to prioritize mental health in the workplace. We're so grateful to Metropolitan Lesotho, to Mamello Phomane for taking out the time, and also for supporting this podcast. So remember to follow us, to subscribe, to share, and let this Talking Cure conversation to continue. Thank you. See you on the next episode.